loves Don and Mike.
The Don and Mike Show.
Okay, howdy. Howdy. Oh, it's time to go on. So I'm going to start today. Hi, everybody. It's just Don. Without Mike, without Buzz, without Rob, without Beth Ann and Joe and Travis and everybody else. And bear with me. The talk about Frida. I'm going to start. This was our song. I'm going to get into this in a second. But it wouldn't be right to start a show about my sweet Frida without our song. All right, Rabbit, Rabbit, Rabbit. That was our song. It's the Don and Mike Show, and it's, Jesus Christ, 5 weeks since I've been here. It's Monday, and it's August 1st, and you know all that junk. You know, I'm discovering now that this is probably, oh, Jesus, bear with me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is going to be harder than giving the eulogy at my wife's funeral. Let me start by saying the outpouring of emotion for Frida and for my family has been overwhelming. And I thank you for that. And my family thanks you for that. And let's start today's show. We're talking about Frida for a little while. I want to talk to you guys, the listeners, not as Don Geronimo. If this is Mike Source talking to you now, the beauty of my family, my wife, my son, everybody that's in our family, they had no problem and have no problem drawing the distinction between the way I am on the radio, excuse me, and the way I am in real life. You know, we do a show. We do a show. I figured out a long time ago, after I heard a guy in Chicago named Steve Dahl, who had his wife on the air, I figured what a great way to get people to relate to you, to get people to feel that they know you. And Frida started coming on the air with me regularly, I don't know, 23, 24 years ago, something like that, even before we were married. When we were engaged, I had her on, but it was just because it was a goofy thing to do. And then we got married, and it became this whole thing of calling my wife, and she was a part of the show. And as Mike said, I think I heard conscience of the show. What you guys should know, first and foremost, was that in real life, not radio life, not what you heard on the radio, in real life, my wife and I had a true love affair. I adored her, and she me. One of the questions that we would get asked, and I don't mean to offend anybody here, any Orientals, no offense, Bill Parcells. At the Christmas party last year, the boss's wife walked up to my wife, never met her before, said, how could you be married to him? Well, that pissed Frida off, and that pissed me off. And I know there's probably some of you out there listening who wonder the same thing. The reason that Frida stayed married to me is that I'm not the big mouth, braggart, jerk, bully in real life that I am on the radio. I will go back to playing that role tomorrow. There is a very thin line on this radio show when it came to my life and what we would live out on the air, between reality and fiction. I can't tell you how many times Frida and I would get in what you guys would perceive as an argument, a disagreement. She's putting me in my place. I'm mad about something. We go through something. You know, there's a little truth in everything. But what you guys never knew was, at a lot of times, we would leave it. You know, she would not pick the phone back up, and I would go, oh, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's go to break. And you'd be thinking, no, listen to that jerk. What kind of jerk is that? I mean, I'll let you behind the scenes. The hotline would ring. It would be Frida. And she'd say, boy, we had a good one. I mean, it's a show. It's a show. There were things about our conversations that were true, and there were things that were exaggerations. The reason that I chose to bring up and occasionally exaggerate the rough spots, being married to someone for, it'll be 24 years on Sunday, is you would not listen to a show in which I was going to talk about my life, and it was going to be a large part of the show every day. If I came in and told you, my life's perfect. My wife is perfect. I have no complaints. You would not listen to that. So let's draw the distinction, okay? When we saw the movie for the first time, As Good as It Gets, we were on vacation in Colorado, just the three of us, Bart and Frida and I. And there's a scene where Helen Hunt says to Jack Nicholson something like, give me a compliment. And he says to her, you make me want to be a better man. I turned to Frida and I said, I'm going to sue these people because I had said that to her. I don't even know how many years that movie came out, but 4 years. My wife was the single most decent-hearted, kind, sweet, generous person that I will ever meet, and that you have had the privilege of listening to. Even when I'm sitting here telling you that I'm not really a jerk like you hear on the radio, I'll tell you this too. I mean this about Frida. There would be nothing that she would not do for someone who asked her. If it was a family member, it was a friend, just somebody she thought she could help, there is not one time in that woman's life that she ever said no. I can't make that claim. I can't. But she could. Because that's how real a person she was. My son and I are both back with our lives. Because that's the way Frida would have wanted it to be. I had a discussion with my son, who's doing great. And we were talking about how we were going to get through this. And I said to him, you know, if the roles had been reversed, if I had been killed in an auto accident, I would not want you and Mom sitting around on your hands feeling sorry for yourself. I would want her to go on with her career. And she had a million things going. And I would want him to continue with his life. Go back to school, go back to work, go back to his friends. That's what we're doing. That's why I'm here today. Today I'm going to talk to you as me. Not the radio me, but the real me. We're going to set out a little outline about how the show's going to go starting tomorrow. A lot of people have speculated, oh, the show will change. The show's not going to change. I'm down today because I'm talking about the love of my life. And I'm having a hard time composing myself, so bear with me. Tomorrow I'll have my head on. And I'm going to come in, and we're going to do the same type of show that we did. And I'm still going to talk about my life. Because I'm not in the mood to now, and these are not the circumstances. But my life has changed forever. It is a bell that cannot be unrung. And there are things that have happened to me over the last 3 weeks and will continue to happen to me that I think you will find interesting. And I'm not talking about morose stuff. I'm not talking about how awful it is to be a widower. I'm talking about what it's like to go through life. Tomorrow, and I might take some of your calls today. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing. But definitely tomorrow, when everybody is back, I would appreciate it if any calls of condolence were not put on the air. Not out of disrespect to my wife, my partner, and love of my life. But it's just time to move on. Conversely, tomorrow I hope that you also will not bombard us with calls with kudos for the rest of the cast and crew who did a great job, from what I've heard, over the last couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks. Because again, that's going back. About the show. Somebody said to me in one of these many functions that I've had to go to, well, gosh, you guys, you make fun of Bob Hope dying. Yes, that's true. Bob Hope's a celebrity. We'll still talk about celebrities when they die. Here's another one. Will you still read a feel-good? You know, that's a story like a Darwin story. Something goes wrong to somebody stupid. Yes, we'll still read those stories. I'll still laugh at those stories because that's me on the radio doing the show for you. And the me on the radio never once made fun or exploited a tragic situation, a loss of life, an accident, an act of God. So that part of the show just ain't going to change. I hope you guys can draw the distinction, again, between the show and real life. About Frida. I knew she was the one for me the first time I saw her. It was at a Bobby Poe radio convention. And I had Donna Jean, good old Donna Jean, sitting on my lap. And this woman walked in the room, and I about threw this girl, Donna Jean, on the floor to run over and find out who the hell she was. We told this story before, that I pursued Frida. And she said, I just want to be friends. And I said, I've got plenty of friends. Call me when you don't want to be just friends. And it only took her a couple of weeks. And I've got some stuff that I wanted to share with you. Like, God, I saved every card, and she saved every card. That's the way we were. I've got so much to tell you about her. Here's the first card. that she gave me. It's a picture of a cat. It says, I'm up to my neck, in love with you. It says, actually, I'm totally filled up with love for you. You make me so happy. Will you be mine forever? That's 25 years old. Here's the one for Father's Day. Blah, blah. All the stuff, all the Hallmark stuff. I am so proud of you. You are my strength. You are my life. You are a great father. You are the only man for me. I love you eternally. Freedom. Here's another one. I don't even know what this one is for. This is, I don't know. Oh, it was just, we had bad ratings. I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago. She's wrote me this. Love is sticking together through those times when you're short on money, patience, and confidence. It's sacrificing something you want for something the family needs and always being willing to listen. You are my best friend. No matter what life hands us, I can handle it as long as I have you. How can I not love you? You are my life. And I, in turn, wrote equally romantic notes to her. We were more than lovers, friends. We were soulmates. We truly were. She thought like I did, and I thought like she did. I loved her because she had balls, and she loved me because I had balls. And she stood behind me every step of the way. When I first met Frida, I was working as a top 40 disc jockey at WPGC. And as we dated and we married, I would outline whatever dream it was that I would have to work at this station or this station, or do this shift or do that shift, or make this amount of money or get this rating. And always, without fail, she would always say, you can do anything. And we did most everything. She, as far as doing this radio show, this is what I'm going to miss besides having her on the air. I'm going to miss the support of my best friend. Because an awful lot of times, this is the Don and Mike show, and I'm blessed that I am surrounded by such talented, fantastically talented people. And I mean them no disrespect there. I'm lucky to have such a great crew. But I run the show, and I think up the things that we do on the show. And I can't tell you the amount of times that we would have a show, and I would tell Frida in the morning, hey, I've got an idea. I got an idea for a game. I've got an idea for a call, and I've got an idea for a setup for Mike. I've got an idea to send Joe out. I've got an idea for this. I've got an idea for that. And it would go through flawlessly. And everybody would say to Mike, to Rob, or to Buzz, wow, great bit. Nobody ever said it to me because they thought I didn't need it, because I have this aura about me, this false sense of confidence, because I am at my core insecure. Who isn't? And on those days when we would just nail something, And I would be driving home thinking about the show. I can't tell you how many times I'd come through the door and she would say, "Who's the effing man?" I said, "You are. Nobody knows what you do." She always did. When we would take live phone calls, when the show would go in a direction that was unexpected, and I was able to orchestrate us through it, along with everybody else's help, it wouldn't be unusual. I'd get a call, and she'd just say to me, "You are really being Peyton Manning today," because she knew how much I love football. And if you don't know Peyton Manning, he's the guy that runs the whole offense for the Indianapolis Colts. It doesn't matter. It was her way of letting me know that she knew what I was doing. And it picked me up on more than one occasion. She was the perfect wife. We had ups and we had downs, but we were perfect together. On the day that Frida died, on that Sunday, I had left Ocean City in the morning with the dogs in the truck to get back home because we would have to come back to work the next day, and she was going to take a couple extra days and just chill out without the dogs and without family. And I had gotten home and had a message from Buzz telling me about the passing of David Haynes. Now, this is before I had heard about Frida. So Buzz and I talked a little bit about David Haynes, burnt toasted coffee time, and Buzz said, "How did your vacation go?" And I said, "We had a great vacation." It really is almost like Frida knew that this was it. She must have, we were an affectionate couple. Anybody that really knows us knows that, but she must have told me in the 2 weeks that we were off, maybe 7 or 8 times, just out of the blue, "I am so happy to be married." And I told Buzz, I said, "Do you have any good stories?" You know, we had a couple of arguments like we always do, but I had none of real consequence. The closest I had was, and I mentioned this to Buzz, well, the day before Frida died, we were on the beach in Ocean City, and she wanted to move closer to the water, which meant we'd move closer to people. And I liked our little isolated spot. And she said, "Well, listen, Howard Hughes, too bad. We're going to move." So she picked up her chair and her blanket, and she started to move. And I called out Tess, because if we're on a beach in Ocean City, it's where our show is heard. Not that I'm freaking Johnny Carson, but you scream out the name Frida, I guarantee a couple people on the beach are going to know who she is. So my code name when I screamed for her was Tess. Like in Ocean's 11. That movie we love so bad. So I screamed, "Tess!" And she turns around and she says, "Leave me alone, Danny Ocean." And she walked a couple more feet away, got all the way down by the water, and she said, "Listen, Buster, we're sitting here. You sit here or go sit back there by yourself. We're sitting here. I'm sitting here. If you're sitting with me, that's fine." And I was pissed at her. I said, "You are embarrassing me in a public place, and you're a last word freak, and everything's got to be your way. But I am crazy about you, and I'll do whatever you want." And that is what our relationship was really all about. She was an outstanding wife, the smartest person that I will ever meet, and a devoted mother. There are a lot of things that we didn't discuss on the show. They just weren't right to discuss. They weren't public to discuss. But she would do anything, that kid of ours, just like I would. But I can't say that I would 100% all the time, every time, like she would. Bart had the best of both worlds. A mom who was incredibly well-oriented with everything going on in the world, not afraid to experience new things, go new places, talk to new people, and a dad who was happy just being alone with my family. He had the best of both. My wife had such a full life. I'm so pleased that she was able to do so many of the things that she wanted to do during her life, with the people that she wanted to be with, and the places that she wanted to go, and the things that she wanted to try. There was nothing that she wouldn't do or that she wouldn't try, and I encouraged her to, and that's why our marriage worked. Because if she wanted to do something like go rock climbing in Africa, you're out of your mind. But baby, if you want to go ahead. And conversely, if I would say to her, I really want to go see the Fantastic Four, which is something we had discussed before she died. She said, okay, but you'll be going by yourself. And it wasn't said in a mean way. It was the way that we did it. She was my entire life. What you heard on the radio when I would complain about her was partly true, but mainly shtick. I love her. I loved her with my whole heart. You guys only knew her as a voice on the radio. I know an awful lot of people called up and complained when she was on. I didn't tell you this then, I'll tell you it now. You know, it was plotted out on our part as a way to get people to connect with us. And she was great in that regard, with the exceptions of illness with our son or situation with her family. She would go with anything on the air because she supported me. Because if I didn't, no one else would do it. That's why I say some of the stupid stuff I say on the show. So I think if I don't say it, no one's going to say it. I don't care if, you think I'm a dope or an idiot, an uneducated hillbilly. Listen, that's the picture I have painted of myself for you, because that's the role that I'm playing, and that's the role that Frida helped me play. Our relationship was deeper than I can tell you. For instance, we came back from vacation. I was looking at my notes before I found out about the accident and thinking, I guess we would talk about War of the Worlds, which we had seen and liked, but there were people that were talking, and we had a big discussion about buttered popcorn and if it was good for you or not, and stuff like that. What I would not tell you was the unique intellectual relationship that Frida and I had, which is another answer to how could she be married to me. Because if you listen to me on the radio, you might think, the guy's kind of witty, but boy, he's the luckiest guy in the world. This guy's just as dumb as a box of rocks, and what the hell's he doing on the radio? I ain't stupid. Okay? And that's a joke when they say ain't. My wife saw that side of me. And we would have a deal, which we did on our last vacation, with books. There would be a book that she would want me to read and a book that I would think she should read. We tried that for, I don't know, a couple of years. Finally, we realized it sucked. But we came up with a plan that we had been using. And on this vacation, the book she wanted me to read was The Da Vinci Code. And the book that I wanted her to read was Blink. Now, the book, The Da Vinci Code, is about spirituality and the beginnings and where things come from and theories on life, etc. The book, Blink, which I had read, was about how there are some people who are able to instantly make decisions and not think twice about it, which is something that I know Frida admired about me. And my point here is that what we had learned to do was this. We each had the book, and we didn't want to spend the time to read it. But I had read Blink. She had read The Da Vinci Code. On every other night, take about a half hour, we'd sit out on the deck, have a drink, have a cigar, and we would discuss the book. Meaning, she would give me her take on the Da Vinci Code, and we would discuss it back and forth. And then, the next night, same situation, just us out on our deck. And we'd have the book there. We could reference the book. And we found for us it was the easiest way for us to share stuff without having to go through all the crap that you really didn't want to go through. It was just one of the things that made our relationship, I think, so unique. She was loved, and she knew it. God. I found this. Give me a second before I read this. I want also everyone to know, I think I mentioned my son is doing fine. My wife's family is doing fine. And I know a lot of you are concerned about Big Frida. She's also doing fine. I'll let you behind the scenes on something that right before we had gone on vacation, there had been talk that Big Frida was going to be moving out of our house. And I played that up, about what an inconvenience it was and what a pain in the ass it was with the coffee machine. The truth is, there was no controversy. Big Frida was welcome to stay in our house until she, goes to where my wife is. It was her decision. She wanted to get out and experience life again. I'm talking about Big Frida. But there's no way to get that message across on the radio when you're talking to people who know you but don't really know you. So we all just goofed around. Yeah, we're getting sick of having her around. And we might have had a fight the day before. But like everything, it was exaggerated. If it was an actual, true, real life emergency, it would never have made the air. Never have made the air. Frida taught me through the way she lived her life and through her family, what family was about. You know how screwed up my family life was and continues to be. But Frida's family, and I mentioned this to them more than one occasion, now they're stuck with me. They are my family. And I could not have gotten through the last 3 weeks without them, specifically without Robbie, my sister-in-law Robin, who I love very much and has been great. So is my sister-in-law Judy, my brother-in-law Doug, the whole family. Everybody's been great. Also, I really should thank, I'm just so disjointed right now. like my neighbor Cecily. I know that there's some of you out there probably wondering, because of what you've heard, with the way that my life was run on the air, that I must just be sitting in a house with piles of bills and no idea how to do anything. And the truth is, on the night that Frida died, that was a concern of mine. I called Mike, and he said, "Do you need anything?" And I said, "Well, I've only got $200. That was the deal Frida and I worked out. That was my walking around money. I got credit cards, but I don't even know what the password is to Quicken or any of my accounts." Well, that was all quickly resolved. Of course, she had backup files. She had a list of passwords for me. And when I was getting into the computers at home to get through, to find some of this information that I had to find, I found that she said even more typical Frida. She loved games, mind teasers, brain teasers with me. But turn on the computer, that's fine. Load Frida's setting? No. Password required. I can't tell you how, but I came up with it on the first try. I had no idea, but I knew that she knew that if I was in that situation, that's what I would type in. When I was going through all of the documents that you got to go through in a situation like this, I found this, let me see, Saturday. I was in our safe at home. Cracked the code on that one, too. Figured that one out. And I was looking for a copy of Frida's will. And she was so organized, everything was in there. There was one envelope that just said Mike. So I took it and thought, well, this must be something about me. This must be, one of my forms from a car or a house or something. So I opened it up, and it was a letter that Frida had written to me on October 16th, 2004. Excuse me. I'm going to read it to you now because I believe, at first, I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I don't think there's some master plan. But I think my wife is in a much better place now. Whenever God takes somebody, someone is taken from us. I do really believe what I've said on the air all along, that everybody goes to heaven. But for somebody as sweet and as decent and as gentle and as loving as my angel, she is in the front row. I know that. And I knew that from the moment I heard that she was dead. She writes, "Dear Mike," again, this is written almost a year ago. "Dear Mike, I dreamt last night I died. I hate to say it because it sounds like a jinx, and I like Earth, but I thought I should write down some thoughts just in case. And it seemed like less of a jinx to write them down than to tell them to someone else. I think of Lee with his letter to Judy and Leo, remarking on what a good life he'd had and why I don't want to make my own auspicious comments." Let me break in for a second, tell you she's talking about her brother, Lee, who passed away 5 years ago, and my brother-in-law, Leo, who had passed away as well. So she writes she would not want to make her own auspicious comments. However, in my dream, it was my turn to go. And there were things I wanted to tell my loved ones but could not. First, I wasn't afraid, and I felt no pain. I just saw a light so bright it made it hard to see anything else. I had no idea what was happening with my body. I was very peaceful. I wanted my family reassured how much I love them. Don't be sad for me. I am fine. My only sadness was that my family would be sad, but I knew that they would be okay. Kind of like when your toddler drops an ice cream cone and is so sad. So you comfort him, feel sorry for him, but you know he's really okay. Just know that all is all right, and as it should be. I am happy. Mike, I love you so much. I am so proud of you and Bart. I have been so lucky to have my family, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters. Our spirits are connected. We will be together again. Frida, 10/16/04. Like I said, just put in this drawer in a safe that up until 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't even wanted to open. I had no idea. What's in their passports, documents. I don't know. That's a beautiful letter, though. That's how I believe that she is now. Bart is doing great. I think I mentioned this before. I apologize if I'm repeating myself. He and I are moving on with our lives. He has become more mature than I ever could imagine. On the Friday with the viewing, he was there for me because there were so many friends and such an outpouring that I was having a hard time handling it. And he was strong as a rock. And he would pull me aside, say, Dad, are you ready to talk to so-and-so? Dad, do you want to talk to so-and-so? And then conversely on Saturday at the funeral, he was losing it. And it was my turn to go to my son and say, I am here for you. He had wanted to say something and found that he couldn't. He was overcome with emotion. I said, don't worry about it. You know, do what you need to do. I'm here for you. When people would say, they would say it to Frida, not to me. You know, how can you be married to him? You folks just didn't get it. You didn't get it because we didn't let you in on it because it wouldn't have made for great listenership. We had a bond, a love that could not be broken, that we would never, ever be separated, except for a situation like this, which I never imagined happening. Despite what jokes I would make on the air with Rob about how we would do in our wives. Now, here's a bulletin for all you listeners. They knew we were kidding. They were okay with it. She was the most positive person that I ever knew. She helped me to see the better side of people. She helped me to learn not to act on impulse, to think things through, while at the same time going with my first gut instinct. During the vacation, there was lots of family over. And at one point, I pulled her aside, and I said, we got to get these people out of here. And she said, why? And I said, because I just want to be with you. And she went down and she cleared out the place. It was just she and I. I'm so glad that I had her for so long. I'm so glad that she knew how much I loved her. how devoted I was to her. When people would say, how could you be married? They didn't know. We had a bond of love and trust. I'll give you an explanation. A lot of guys in business, they put some of their stuff in like a spouse's name in case you get sued, which Mike and I have been sued a couple of times. So they say, the important stuff, you put it in your wife's name. But, always leave, make sure you're covered. For the last almost 24 years we've been married, I had more than one lawyer, well-intentioned, say to me, why is everything in Frida's name? Don't you realize that, if you guys split up, you're screwed? So we're never splitting up. Never splitting up. Why would I want it any other way? I never fathomed that I'd be alive and she'd be dead. I trusted her. I loved her. She got me to tap into a spiritual side that I didn't know existed for me, that I don't bring up on this show because it's not the proper place, the proper venue. She was an incredible woman. I talked to a friend of mine, George Michael from Channel 4, a couple of days after Frida had died. And somebody called me and said, turn on Channel 4. And they're doing a very nice piece on Frida. And I knew that George had to have something to do with that. Because, Mike and I stink worse than dead fish at Channel 4. But it was nice. And I called George. And of course he said, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. And I know he's lying about that. And I said to George that he should really treasure what he has with Pat. That's his wife. And George doesn't talk about this, and I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning this. I told George that he and Pat have a marriage much like Frida and I. She's his producer, more or less. George calls his own shots at Channel 4. But there would not be one event or one function that we would go to where we would never fail to see them together. And I also mentioned to Dude Walker and his wife the same thing. But those are two couples that I saw who had lives that seemed in that regard, as far as their relationship went, to parallel what Frida and I had. And I said to both of them, not that you're not doing this now. Don't ever take her for granted. Because I was so lucky to meet someone like Frida, who shared my passions, was my soulmate, my best friend, my confidant, knew me inside and out, and vice versa. I think these guys have similar women with them. And I just had to call George and tell him that. I don't know what to say when people ask me, how are you doing? What do you say? How do you think I'm doing? My world's freaking upside down. But I got to go on. I got to move on. Well, the commercials are going to be screwed up today. That's too bad. I want to also take a second here, if you bear with me. This is not like an Academy Awards thing, but I'm probably not going to have the chance to thank these people. Of course, all of the people at the station and on the show know how much I love them, and I appreciate their support. But besides that, at the viewing and at the funeral, I was blown away by people who work in this business, some of whom I never even thought would show. I had never conceived that I'd be holding court for Frida's funeral. But I wanted to thank longtime friend of Frida Ann, mine, Surf, from 94.7 for showing up. He's a good friend, always been there. Donnie Simpson, who was just such a pro and had already been to one funeral that day. It meant a lot to me that Donnie was there, and we had some good times. Luke Katz, stupid old Steve Kingston, and Jack Diamond, if you can believe that. Her friend Marilyn, our friend, Frida's friend, my friend, Marilyn called and said, Jack Diamond wants to know if he can come. And my first thought was, well, hell no. And I thought, he's not doing it to like make it a bit on his show. The guy wants to pay his respects. That's what Frida would want me to do. So I said, sure. And Jack Diamond, who I've talked about on the radio for 15 years, the back and forth, with he's a jerk and he's a no talent and I'm a big mouth, and it was the back and forth. All of a sudden I realized, we were both doing our shtick, but here was a guy who was being genuine. And his kindness blew me away. Now, you're never going to hear me say that again on another day, but that's absolutely true. Also, I know that it would have been easy for a lot of disc jockeys to make this event a gag on their show. Word has gotten back to me, and I appreciate the fact that Howard Stern discussed it with the class. Opie and Anthony did the same. Dave at DCRTV.com had pages and pages of beautiful letters that Frida had written about. People had written about Frida, and I thank him for that. There were so many things said and written about Frida. Mark Fisher wrote a couple of paragraphs about her in the Washington Post, and that was greatly appreciated. Kind of hit the nail on the head with what Frida and I were all about. I'd also like to thank Richard Roper with the Chicago Sun-Times. That, over 20 years since I've been on in that market, he remembered Frida. That was wonderful of him, and I appreciate it. Willard Scott and Ed Walker. I got a letter from Willard Scott that would make you cry. Will not read that to you, but I thank him and Ed as well. And just because of Ron and Fez, of course. Ron and Fez, who were there Friday night. I know you guys are gone now. I knew you were going. I love you guys and thank you. And even today, coming in, there's just boxes of mail, and I get this. It's your typical condolence card. Don, I've had you in my prayers. All the best to you. God bless. Your friend, Rick Dees. Rick Dees. A lot of my radio friends have been supportive. Cleveland Wheeler, Landecker, everybody from the old days, Dave Robbins. But it's when I don't know my point here. My point is that there are people that have been incredibly kind to me in this time, and I appreciate it. And I think the reason that they are able to is that they also know that what I do is an act. I hope it will not stop you from listening to the show when it goes back to normal tomorrow, or when we play best of when I get done here today. But it will go back to normal. Just know what my family knew. I'm doing a show. I'm doing a show. The real me. While I'm full of faults and insecurities, the real me was when I was with Frida, and when I'm with Bart, and when I'm with those that I feel the most comfortable with. In real life, I'm a pretty gentle guy. I don't lose my temper. I tell those around me who are important to me how important they are. And this is all a part of what Frida brought to the equation. That when I met her, I was a lost soul. I was coming out of an awful family. I'd gotten married and divorced, had a child before I was 18 and a half years old. My life was a mess. And she turned me around. I said that like Elvis. She turned me around, Jack. She did. And her spirit lives inside me. So if you ever turn this radio station on, and I'm on with Mike and all my buddies, and I'm calling somebody an ass, tell them to go to hell, challenging them to a fight, talking about some disc jockey who killing the ratings, just try to remember today. I mean, if you ever really get so caught up in it that you can't realize it's entertainment, just try to remember today. That's all it is, folks. Just freaking entertainment. But I'm glad that I could share Frida with you. Because what you heard on the air with her was genuine. In the context of doing a show. But I hope you could feel the genuine love, affection, and respect we had for each other. Only a few people around here even know that Frida and I had a dream that we were going to, when the contract is up, we're going to retire somewhere and stop thinking about this show 24 hours a day, and we were just going to have, bear the fruits of our labor. And she knew I loved Tampa Bay. I mean, I love Washington. It's been our home for over 20 years, but I've loved Tampa Bay every time I've been down there. And I had to sell her on it. She went down there, and she called me up. It was one of the times she was down in Florida. She said, "You are not going to believe this. I have just found your dream house on Madeira Beach. I mean, you open up the sliding glass doors, and you are on the beach. That white sand, just like the St. Beach Beach, it's it." Oh, we were supposed to close on that place on the 15th. That dream will not happen. But I'm content with the way things ended with my sweet Frida. Because we were happy, and we were in love, and we were partners in every sense of the word. And we were anxiously looking forward to the next chapter of our lives, where I I could devote more time to her and she to me. She was busy. I mean, besides being a full-time mother, she had gone back to school. She'd taken art classes at the Corcoran. And she started a career in designing and interior decorating. Almost bought a store downtown, for God's sakes. Pretty much ran our website. There's nothing that woman couldn't do. I said to her, baby, let's just wait, let's wait 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, Then you're smart, you work. I'll take some time off. I used to laugh about that all the time. I miss her. I miss her so much every goddamn day. There are times I find it impossible to just function. I know I'm going to get over it. But I wanted to take this time to make sure that you guys all knew what a special woman she was. And if she touched your life, you're lucky. And if you got something out of hearing Frida on this show, if you're one of the people that met her, God knows she was immensely more approachable than me. We'd be in Ocean City. People would come up and they know who we were, and I'd go, oh God, I don't want to do this, and you'd walk right up and, hi, how you doing? And I'm so glad that we had our last vacation together. We were able to, we're planning the Tampa Bay thing, which obviously is not happening now, but, again, the part of me that you never heard about on the radio was the fact that, I complained about going for walks with my wife or going for bike rides. Generally speaking, on a day-to-day basis, yeah, I did. But I did it with her, too, because it made her happy. And on our vacation in Ocean City, those last 2 weeks, we were inseparable. We spent all of our time together. We went to all of our favorite restaurants. Went to Iguana Surf. We went to Tequila Mockingbird. Rode our bikes for miles and miles and miles. I would have done anything for her. I would give my life 1 million times over. I do not know why she's gone and I'm still here. But going back to what she wrote, she is in a much better place now. I also really got to thank the police. Fairfax County Police. Gosh, the day after Frida died, the cops came to my door. I thought, well, what can this be? Well, they just wanted to offer some support. So, sometimes houses get broken into. We'll watch your house for you. Can't thank them enough. All the Montgomery County Police at the funeral and at the wake. All of the off-duty officers. And especially the people at the barracks at the Maryland State Police in Berlin, Maryland. Because they're the ones that had to give me the news. And I was so paranoid about our privacy, as you know, even though we lived our lives on the radio to an extent. I was nuts about our privacy. So I was sitting at home on Sunday, 3 weeks ago. Phone rang out of area. Woman says, Michael Source? Yeah. She said, this is so-and-so from the Maryland State Police. And I said, I bought the jams and jellies already. Thank you. Click. Go back. Is Michael Source? Yes. so-and-so of the Maryland State Police. Hank, listen, I don't want it. I said, is this a joke? I immediately thought this was one of you guys. Oh, listen. He said, I'm calling to tell your wife was in an accident. I didn't believe her. Not because I didn't believe Frida couldn't be in an accident, but this is not the way it would happen. I mean, give me your phone number and I'll call you back. Well, I called her back and found out immediately that what she was telling me was true. I want to thank all of the doctors. Johns Hopkins and at the Baltimore Shock Trauma Center, where they brought Frida to. They were great with me. She, in essence, was dead by the time I reached the hospital, by the time they had airlifted her there. They were keeping her artificially alive long enough so that I could be there with her. And I will always appreciate them doing that for me. Frida had signed a paper long ago saying if she was ever in a coma or in a state where her life would not be one where she could live with any degree of normalcy. You know, one of those standard things, if you got to pull the plug, pull the plug. Well, she'd already signed the form that was on file. And those doctors played it straight with me and told me exactly what was happening and brought me in to see her. It was hell. And it's hell every time you hear anything about it on the TV or the radio. I mean, I know I'm more acutely aware now when I hear, here's Sky Fox over an 8-car pile up, a couple people killed. Now I find myself thinking, what about those families? I don't know how long that'll last. But when something like that happens, you do think about those people. And I want to thank our family for being so strong and hanging together. And I think that I'm about done. I will take, I tell you what, if there are any questions you have, here's what I would ask. I'll stay for one more break. If any questions you would like asked, because I do want to be honest with you about stuff, but I don't want it to be brutally honest tomorrow. If you got anything you want to ask, any questions, you call now. We'll take a break. I'll come back and take a couple of calls. But like I say, please, I know that you all miss her and that you loved her and that you want to send your good feelings. All I want to do is just take some calls without hearts and flowers. Just if you have questions about Frida, about Bart, about me, about something on the show, about anything that has to do with her, let's do it now. And then we're going to be done with it. Not that she will ever be out of my thoughts or mentioned on this show, but never again in this type of setting. She was an absolute angel. I love her with all my heart. And I hope that you can find someone as special for you. Okay? Pep talk over. Back. Take your calls. And I'm going to get in my car, go home and have a drink. How about this? I've not even been drinking. Wouldn't Frida be proud of me for that? Sucks. But I'm glad to be back. glad to be talking about it. Take some calls. You know, I don't even know what I said in the first break. If I didn't mention, much thanks to Mike and Rob and Buzz and Beth Ann and Joe and everybody over the last couple of weeks. Because it would have been... Oh, you got to turn that off. You made me cry. The day that Frida died, the night, I called Mike, and I said, you got to do the show tomorrow. And it would have been easy for Mike and everyone else just to play tapes for as long as it took me to get back. But I appreciate the fact that they all came in and kicked a little ass and kept things moving. So I want to make sure that I thank them as well. I was talking about everybody else, and I'm sure I did, but if I didn't, there you go. Okay? And now, a couple of your calls. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Don.
Yes.
Is it okay if we know where Frida is buried? What cemetery?
No. Again, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Listen, that's why I'm glad we're going to take these calls now. That's the type of idiotic call I don't want to get tomorrow. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Hi, Mike.
Yes, you can call me Mike today.
Thank you. I did want to say, you know, there's so many people, if you want to hear something good that came out of this, at work, where there's about 20 of us standing down talking outside the place, and somebody brought it up about what had happened. Next thing you know, all 20 of us were very upset about things. None of us, and we've known each other for years, ever even related to your show. But how much Frida and yourself and the rest of your folks affected us through this whole thing. I've never called. I wanted to tell you that good thing, but the main question I wanted to ask, will we be able to hear Frida on the best of?
Of course.
Because
of course.
I'm missing her. I'm missing her, and I've never spoke with any of you.
Tell me about it. Yes, she will be in the best of. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. I'm
right.
happy to hear that.
Thank you, my friend. See you later. Hello there, Don and Mike Show.
Mr. Source.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Okay.
I know that's a terrible question to ask, but I have a two-part question.
Go ahead, ask your question.
First of all, Bart, will he be still staying at Clemson, or is he going to transfer closer to home?
Now, listen, this is why I'm glad that we're taking these calls. No, he's staying at Clemson, where he has a life, he has friends, he has a job, he has a girlfriend, he has classes. He and I had the discussion. He's a 90-minute plane flight away, and as a matter of fact, he's coming back next week. Frida and I were going to go see Brian Wilson.
Very good. Okay.
At a Wolf Trap. So he's coming back, and he'll be with me all week.
Okay, and another thing. The dogs, have they noticed your loss as well?
Yes.
And in memorial of Frida, I just want to leave you with a very somber, this is dedicated to Frida. We love you all. Keep your heads up. Don, you just got to start with a new chapter. You will always have her in your heart. You will always have those memories. No one can ever take it from you. We love you.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. And yes, the dogs do know. Absolutely, the dogs know. They know I'm sad. The dogs are sleeping with me now. They had slept downstairs. Especially the little one, Max, who was standoffish in this way that he would want attention, and then he would go rah, 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 come on, Daddy, give me some attention, and then you would go to him and he would run away. It's this thing, he was Mr. Runaway. Well, since this happened with Frida, he just comes up and lays down and just gets right on his back in that submissive position. Because he knows I'm sad, and the dogs are helping me a lot. Okay? Here we go. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Hi, Mike.
Yes, hi.
My question is, Did you get the respect and the privacy from the listeners that you had hoped to get?
Yes. Let me thank everybody on that one too. And hold on, this equipment's going nuts. Mike made a request that I had passed along, and Frida's family had passed along. There was some ass on the internet who had posted where the viewing was going to be and where the funeral was going to be, and also posted my address. And for those listeners, well-intentioned, but dumb enough to get my home address off the internet and send me a letter at my house. She would hate me saying this. I'm going to write you a letter back, because that's out of bounds. But no, everybody was great. There was no problem at any of the services.
Well, that's good. And I just want you to know that I've been listening for 20-some years, and you and Frida have always shown the love, and it's always come through to anyone that was really listening to you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the call.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, see you later. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hi there.
I have a quick question for you about the accident itself and the person that hit Frida.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever speak with him? Did he ever get charged with anything?
Here's what I know. I know that on Route 90 in Ocean City, my wife was inbound, eastbound. There was an accident the other way. It's a 2-lane highway.
Right.
There apparently was a 10-car pileup. This guy swerved to avoid hitting the car in front of him and plowed into Frida. The cops told me wasn't drunk, wasn't high. I've got no axe to grind. It was an accident. If the guy... The police have been very kind with me in telling me exactly what happened. It had been reported in at least one media outlet the day after Frida died up in the Salisbury area that the guy just jumped over the double yellow line because he didn't want to be affected by a backup.
That's what I read, which
well,
is what I was asking.
That's not the case.
Right.
That is not the case. I cannot fault him. Who could say what you would do in a similar situation? If all of a sudden you looked up and there were 10 cars in a row in front of you crashing, if you just turn your wheels to the left, boom.
It's instinct.
Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you.
See you later. All right. Bye-bye. Hello, Dynamite Show. Here we go. Hi. What did Mike do to this thing? Why am I glad I'm back? Here. Hello, Dynamite Show.
Don.
Yeah.
Hi, just had a question. You were talking about maybe retiring after your contract's up, and I'm wondering, are you still thinking about that, or are you going to actually sign back on to go a little longer?
I don't know. You know, I told Mike and I told everybody else that I'm here for this contract. You know, and I've never, I don't think I've ever played this like Howard Stern, saying, you know, if this contract isn't this, I'm going to quit, you know, blah, 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 go across the street. No, this I think it was pretty much known that this was going to be our last contract. Depending on what happens here at the station, I told Mike and Rob and the other people that I love with families to support that I'm going to honor my contract. And what happens in 3 years, we'll find out in 3 years.
Well, as a person, I tell you, Mike, I hope you retire and I hope you enjoy the rest of your life. As Don, I don't want to see you go. I want you to sign another contract because I need you here.
Well, dude, you know, it's way too early to think about that now, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Here we go. Hello there, Don and Mike Show. I don't even know what these calls are. Hello? Hello, Don and Mike.
Lynn?
Does anybody know Lynn?
Yes.
Who's Lynn?
Oh, I'm Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you? Can you tell me about the birth of Bart? Was it a nice story? So we can get off all this heavy stuff for a few minutes and think about joyful things?
The birth of Bart. Bart was 5 weeks premature.
Goodness gracious. Was he okay? Oh, obviously he was, because he's a healthy, strappy man.
There's the first person I've hung up on. Okay. Hello there, Don and Mike Show. Hello. I don't know how good an idea this was. Hello.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Oh, hi. Thanks so much for sharing so much of your life. That's really out of the ordinary, and it'll be something that I use in the future. So I just wanted to thank you for that. It was valuable. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And Bart, and really what I wanted to know is, I've heard that I know you're going to pull yourself through. I know that Bart's doing well, and I'm glad for that. But I haven't heard about Big Frida, and I was just wondering how she's doing. Is she okay?
I mentioned, yes, she is. She's fine. She's got her moments. You know, she has her ups, she has her downs. But I talk to her just about every day, and she, like I said, she has good moments and bad moments, but she is determined, like all of us, to get through this. She's doing as well as you would expect. After 3 weeks, she's getting her life together.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I always used to love to listen to her part of the show as well, and I've thought of her as well as all of you through this whole experience. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I know that she does as well. Hello there, Donna Mike Show. Hello.
Hi, Don. This is Sue.
Hello, Sue.
And I wanted to thank you and all this tragedy of doing something positive and making us feel like we could do something by making a donation. And I went...
Oh, let me interrupt you. It's one of the things I do best. The charity that was selected, you know, my wife loved animals, the Worcester County Humane Society. It is a rundown shack where they take in the animals that nobody wants, and I don't know how to thank you guys with the literally thousands of letters and dollars that this place has received. They're blown away by it, and on behalf of Frida, we thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping it can be something that will be a legacy that will live on.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Come on now. Don't you cry. I'm not going to cry. Don't you cry. Come on, Jesus Christ. Hello. Let's be men here.
Yeah, just wanted to reiterate what that lady said. It was nice to listen to you. I sat in this room by myself and just listened. And everything you said, really, I've been a listener for a long time, hit home. And my thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family. And thanks for sharing all that. That was great.
And thank you. I appreciate the call. And I hope everybody just digs what I'm saying. Tomorrow when we come back, I am going to be more animated. I'll work up my DJ voice. I've had a problem with sleep. My voice is a little raspy because, you know, I go to bed 10 o'clock at night, and I've been waking up at 2 a.m. And that's just something I'm going to have to deal with. But thank you for that nice call. Hello there, Don and Mike Show. Hello.
Yeah. Don?
Yes.
Yeah, I was on the last reverse newlywed game, and that was the breakup of my marriage. And it turned out that, well, my ex-wife, she was a lesbian. But you guys really did set the standard for what was a perfect marriage. Now, my question to you is, or not question, it was more of a statement. Do you think you can just keep this going? Because Route 90 is a very unsafe road, and you reach an awful lot of people, and you talk to an awful lot of law officers.
I have had numerous conversations with the great people at the state police in Berlin, Maryland. I don't feel comfortable discussing that now. I appreciate what you're saying. There are a hell of a lot of accidents on that road leading into Ocean City, the road where Frida was killed on. And I don't know what the answer is. I know that the cops are aware of the situation, and they know that it's a bad intersection. That's all I can say about that. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Hello? Hello? Right. Thank you. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Just nothing. Hello? I mean, Jesus Christ, I could sit at home and do that. Just sit at home, pick up the phone, just instead of dial tone. Hello? Something wrong with these phones now? I'll tell you, that's one thing that I really do miss. I have found myself, when I have those moments, when I forget that all of this happened, I've picked up the phone to call Frida. We've actually even walked around the house. Say, hey, baby. And then it just hits me like a ton of bricks. Oh, that's right. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Hello, Don?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Don?
Yes?
This is Priscilla, and I just want to say thank you very much for the words that you said, and my condolences to you, Bart, Big Frida, and her family.
Thank you, Priscilla.
I lost my husband suddenly last November in 2 weeks of cancer, and I can understand and sympathize with what you're going through. And when you were speaking today, it just made so much sense to me that I've been in such a funk and a dark, and to know that you can openly discuss this on the air with the public, that you made me feel a lot better about myself and everything else that I've been going through.
Well, good. I'm very glad, and you should, do what I'm doing. If you've had a tragedy or something, move on. I mean, just move on. And the show, one thing I know about this show is that we get the calls from people about what a great diversion it is when, something happens in your life. And that's why we're going to make the show go back to the way that it was before Frida died tomorrow. So it'll still be that. Much in the way that watching stupid Regis Philbin for me, for 20 minutes I forget about stuff. Or if I've got a Letterman TiVo and he's got a good funny bit that's going nowhere, that's a nice diversion, Almost makes me want to call up David Letterman. Say, hey, thanks for the diversion. He would not take my call. Hello?
Hey, Don, I have a comment and a question. The comment is, the current listeners that are listening to you now, you don't need to tell them how heartfelt you are and how nice you are. We know it 100%. I know it personally.
No. Understand? Let me stop for a second. I'm not saying I'm a nice guy. I'm like Don Rickles. I'm a nice guy. It's just a lot of people have had a problem in the past making the distinction between radio guy, real guy. I can't imagine that people, not that I am Chris Rock, but I can't imagine if you watch Chris Rock do a show and he said something that pissed you off or said something off color, that you would walk up to him and you'd say, you are so dead wrong. You know what he would say to you? He'd say, hey, eat one. I'm doing a show. That was the only point that I wanted to get out.
Well, we understand that because I know personally, because you sent my son with me to Florida to see my dad before he died, and I couldn't thank you and the radio station enough. And on the other end, my question is, and this maybe will make you smile, are you going to move in with Mike now?
That would be on the 13th of never when that happens. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
I am?
Yeah, turn your radio down, honey.
Hi, I just want to let you know I'm calling all the way from San Diego, California, and I'm listening to you online.
Oh, great.
And I just wanted to ask you, are you going to kind of be now more protective of Bart because it's just the two of you now, and how are you going to deal with helping him?
Please don't take any offense at my answer. What a stupid question. Will I be more protective of Bart? I cannot be more protective of my son than I was when my wife was alive. I mean, what am I going to do? Say to him, oh my gosh, call me every time you get in the car. I must know where you are at every moment. Don't make a move. I mean, I'm overly protective already. Thank you for your sentiment, but no, I won't be doing that. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Yes, Don.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on the Tampa Bay place altogether?
Yeah. Oh, and listen, I found out that if you ever make a down payment on a place and you want to get out of it, if your spouse is killed, they give you the money back right away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, all right.
That's it. Yeah, there's a great place on the market in Madera Beach, Florida. Knock yourself out. Hello there, Don and Mike Show. Hello?
Hello, Don. This is Jim.
Hello, Jim.
Hi. I just always like the way that you ended the shows, and I hope you continue, and that would be love your Frida, love your Bart.
Yeah, I will. And, I really only did that on Fridays, only because I always thought, in my mind, this is the thing to me that is still unbelievable that this happened. Out of all the scenarios that I've been through in my life and that I considered in my life, this is one that I never thought of. I mean, we went through a situation with my son 3 or 4 years ago. It never discussed on the air, a medical situation, and I thought, gosh, what would we do without him? And he made it through. Last fall, last fall, I had a little flare up with a tumor, and I had to get some radiation. And it was never mentioned on the show. And Frida was just such a rock during all of that she would say to me, she was so great. She was just so great. I don't want to talk about Bart's situation, but in my situation, which obviously was serious but not serious enough to mention on the radio, and I don't feel comfortable now talking about it except to say how incredibly supportive this woman was, that she would take me, and if you've ever had cancer, I had it as a kid, and you have radiation, it's 45 seconds rather, but then it's like 5 hours of misery. She would do everything for me. She would do everything. I used to kid all the time about how, she would make me fend for myself. Well, the truth is, when the rubber really hit the road, she was always there for me. She would keep me going, and on the days that I couldn't drive to work, she would drive me to work. And, I would come home and I would say, God, the show sucked today. I'm on autopilot today because I don't feel good today. I don't feel like going in. She would say to me, well, what kind of example are you setting? You're well enough to go in. What are you going to do? Sit at home? Sit on your ass? She was great. She's a great motivator. Just the best. Absolutely the best. Hello there, Don and Mike Show.
How's it, Don?
Okay.
I just wanted to ask if they've been talking a little bit before you got back about how the show's going to change a bit, and I wanted to ask...
Who said that?
Mike and Rob and Joe.
No. Well, I don't believe that they said that, because the show, I think I've pretty much outlined it for you. The show will not change one iota, except for the fact that instead of having a life with a wife that I share with you, I'm now going to share with you what it's like to be a swinging widower, and how messed up that's going to be. But I'll do it in an entertaining way. The show's not going to change at all.
And is Rob healthy?
Yes. Yes, Rob is healthy.
Well, I know he was sick last week.
Yes, and listen, again, we're talking about my situation and Frida. Rob, that's none of your business. If Rob feels like telling you why he wasn't here last week, he'll tell you. But why can't you just go with the guy's sick? I mean, isn't that what Mike said last week?
Yes, Don.
Okay, I'm not trying to bust your balls. It's like, this is creepy. We're talking about Frida dying, and you want to know, how's Rob? Well, Rob is sick. Rob's not dying. Rob is sick. What else do you need to know?
That's it, Don.
Okay, thanks. You got it. Thank you. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Hi, Don.
Hi there.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to tell you, you've been on my heart and on my mind for 3 weeks, and I was sure that you were sitting in the dark, piled with bills all around you. So when you said that you were able to get in and figure all that out, I was worried.
Hey, then, here's the thing. This is why I wanted to talk to you guys today. Really, I'm not a stupid guy. I'm not a stupid guy. I'm clumsy, yes, but I'm not a stupid guy. I thank you. Thank you for believing the persona that I present on the radio.
Well, you know what, Don? My husband, if something happened to me, it helped me to think, he'd be in a pickle, because he really wouldn't know.
No, he wouldn't, because he would do what anybody in the situation would do. You got to move on, and you figure out how to do stuff. All right, thank you very much.
Love ya.
Okay, same here. And what's that? Oops, what happened to the thing there? The video. Hello, Don and Mike Show. Hello?
Hey, Don. How you doing today?
Okay.
Well, never mind. Stupid question. I heard about it when I was coming back from my own honeymoon, and as goofy and silly as it may sound, whatever your real life / persona that you let in through my stupid little radio box really inspired my own little marriage. I'm kind of goofy to keep to myself in ways that you are, at least from what I can tell. So I thank you for that, and I hope in all of this mess and everything that you just remember that 5 days, 5 a.m. ESPN 2, Tokyo Dome, 10 days in Lambeau Field.
Oh, please tell me about it. Don't. He, of course, is referring to the Atlanta Falcons and the Indianapolis Colts.
Exactly. I'm glad to see you've kept your head on straight. You're the man. Don't ever forget that, all right?
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the call. Thank God football's coming back on. Otherwise, I would be nuts. Hello there. Don and Mike Show.
Hi, Don. First of all, hi. I want to thank you so much for sharing this with us. I can't even imagine how difficult all of this has been, but then to share it with millions of people who've felt for you this entire time, just thank you so much for letting us have a small snippet of your life. And I wanted to know if you have been back to Ocean City. Are you planning on selling that property? Will you be back there?
I have not gone back, but I'm not going to sell that place, no.
Okay. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Just a little too sad to go back now. Tomorrow, when hopefully I've got more sleep, I'm not so emotional, I'll tell you about my trip to Atlantic City, because I needed a good old-fashioned diversion. And I got one. Boy, I got one. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Don.
Yes.
Hi. I'm a long-time listener, and your show is the best on the radio ever. I just wanted to know, did Frida get the opportunity to become an organ donor before she passed?
Now, this is a tough one. Let me hang up on you so I can answer this. This wreck instantly killed my beautiful angel. I'm going to start crying if I don't compose myself. When they had her in the shock trauma unit, because Frida was such a health nut, and inspired me to lose weight and to keep it off, and would challenge me, how fast can you run a mile, how fast can you run 2 miles. She was in excellent shape, and when the doctor came in and asked how old she was, I said she was 50. The doctor said, well, they would have guessed 35. And she was an organ donor. However, I don't know if a polite way to put this, her organs were unusable. You get what I'm saying with what happened in the crash. So that's the story on that. Let's take 1 or 2 more calls, and then I got to get out of here. Hello there, Don and Mike Show. Hello.
Hello, Don.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Love your guys' show. Quick, funny question, I guess. Now that Tampa Bay is totally out of the question, would you think about moving out here to Sacramento?
Oh, yes. That's where I'm going this weekend, as a matter of fact. I want a nice stucco house right in the middle of Sacramento. Hello, Don and Mike Show.
Hi, Don. How are you?
Oh,
well, that's a dumb question, isn't it?
You know how I am.
hate it when we ask a stupid question.
That's all right.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Don't worry.
Well, I called because I wanted to share a brief story. And it doesn't have anything to do with Frida, and I'm sorry to say that. But 5 years ago, I had a friend, a very close friend, whose 9-month-old baby died. And I remember feeling so freaked out when it happened. But what I remember the most poignant was the next morning when the sun came up, how pissed off I was that the sun came up. And this is going to sound so incredibly stupid because I'm one of those, long-time listener, blah, 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 AVA days. But when I turned on the radio and I heard the news, I was so amazingly stunned. And I listened all the way home, and I watched the news at night for any piece of information. And then, God damn it, the next morning the sun came up, and it pissed me off again. I'm I think you're amazing, and I think Frida was amazing, and you had a great relationship. And I'm really sorry I'm crying, but I just wanted to tell you how I felt.
Thank you.
And I want to tell you, thank you for telling us how you feel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, you watch that, because that crying stuff is contagious. Okay? Hello, Don and Mike's show. Hello?
Hello, Don?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Ken. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. Just one question I had is, did you have you talked to your mom and dad at all since this happened?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
Yeah. Okay.
Like what? Like this is going to be the big breakthrough for me? Please.
Yeah. I was just thinking maybe.
Now listen, I want to tell you something about my wife. She had the best heart and always would think the best of people. You would have to really be a low-down MFer to get on her S list. They were on it. I only know of a couple other people. So no, I've not heard from them. They're not my family. My family is Frida's family. My family is my daughter's kids. My family is my brother. My family is my son. That's my family. I'll take one more call. I'm going to get out of here. Hello there, Don and Mike show. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you might be thinking about becoming a vegetarian at all in your later part of your life.
Why?
Why? Well, wasn't your wife a vegetarian?
Have a sex change operation.
Yeah, well, you don't have... I'm a man, and I'm...
You idiot. God. Hello, Don and Mike show.
Hello, Don?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, Don, just want to say welcome back, buddy. And for one thing...
Hey, okay. Okay, let's save that for tomorrow. Make sure you call tomorrow and ask for Mike O'Mara.
Hello?
Hello, Don and Mike show.
Oh, perfect. I'm so glad to say hi. My name's Yanni. I'm calling from Spokane. I just want to give a bit of English cheer to my friend.
Oh, gotcha. All right. See you later.
Is it going to be...
There was a guy from, I think that we're about to the end of this. I think we really should just stop this now. Hello, Don and Mike show.
I had a comment for Mike Source and a question for Don.
Okay, well, they're both here, and you're going to be the last call, so what can I do for you?
Well, the comment for Mike Source is nobody's ever truly dead and gone until the last person that remembers and loves them is in the ground. That's something somebody told me when my mom passed away, and it's always stuck with me, and I always liked that comment. And then the question for Don is, you ever notice how at funerals and weddings, people do some really stupid things, and even for all the good emotion and good intentions, people really say some stupid things.
Let me get to the show tomorrow and the day after. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the call, and I'll tell you. How about this? I'll leave you with this, because I don't want to be a total downer, and I'm going to be here in a second before I play the record. I guess it was Friday. The hospital that they took Frida to originally, they had to medevac her out to shock trauma in Baltimore. But the place where she was at, where she had the initial x-ray stuff done, called my house, and they said, "Is Frida there?" And I said, "No, she's passed away. Can I help you?" And the woman said, "Yes, hi, this is so-and-so from Peninsula General," or wherever the place was. I said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" She said, "Yeah, we'd like to speak to Frida about these charges." And I said, "What charges?" They said, "Oh, incurred on the 10th. There were some x-rays and a CAT scan." And I said to this woman, I said, "Did you hear what I said at the beginning of this conversation?" I said, "My wife is dead. You're calling asking for her, and I'm telling you she's dead. You want to know about paying the bill the day she died." And the woman said, oh, my apologies. And 2 days later, in the mail, they sent her a bill addressed to her. Dear Mrs. Right Source, how can we handle this payment? So, I got plenty of stuff to tell you. And there's really not an answer to how are you doing, how are you getting by. The answer is, as anybody knows, you do it day by day. I'm better today than I was yesterday. I will be better tomorrow than I am today, because I had worked myself back to as normal as I could get and had dreaded doing this show. And now I'm going to leave, and then tomorrow everything will be cool. So, thank you all for listening. We'll all be back tomorrow. All of us doing the regular show. So come on, let's remember my rules now. Tomorrow things go back to normal. No condolence calls. No everybody did a great job call. Nothing changes. Everything's back to normal. Remember the distinction between me, the real guy, me, the radio guy, and we'll all get along better. And I love you so much, Frida. I will never forget you. Love you. Love you. All right. That's it. I will see you tomorrow.